What?
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to explain that, introduce that in the start of the show too. But I have a about 4-year degree in electronics engineering technology. I've been working at Intel Corporation since 1984, actually, in the computer chip design group. But I don't mention Intel because they don't want to be associated with anything like this because, they have Christians and religious people at Intel too.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and I got a master's in ministry degree from Luther Light Seminary in Georgia. And in 2000, I got that degree in 2007 while I was working, and in 2009 I became an atheist. And I wrote a booklet called Modern Science and Philosophy Destroy Christian Theology. Sometimes I wear an interesting shirt. Today I'm just wearing a Christmas sweater, so it's just to let you know since you can't see me. Now, and feel free to, don't feel like you have to agree with me or anything like that. I mean, I want you to be blunt and, really air our differences and all that.
Okay, I never have a problem with that.
And so basically, this is a 58-minute show, and if you want to, I'm going to put this on YouTube, and then I'm going to put each 10-minute section is a separate YouTube clip. And if you want to, after this, we might have more studio time. We have to be out of here at about 9:15 to be done. So we might have an extra few minutes. If you're interested, we could do some extra topics on whatever you want to, like your best argument against atheism or whatever. And we can do some extra sections if you're interested in that afterwards.
Sure. It's 10 o'clock here. You're in California time, right?
Yeah, I'm in Portland, Oregon.
I'm coming there this weekend.
Yeah. I wanted to say too, if you want an atheist to debate you on anything for a section of that or whatever, I'd be willing.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. If you contact the church I'm going to be at, they would be the one to handle that scheduling. It's a Russian Russian Baptist church. Contact them. Their contact info is up on my website, 2peter3.com. But if they want to do it, I'd be thrilled. I'd be honored.
Well, if I ask them, they probably say to ask you, right?
Oh, tell them I said yes, but they're paying for my ticket to fly out there, so I don't want to do anything.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think it might be interesting for your participants if maybe there could just be like a 1-hour section on something, because I mean he can even say like how do you do this on an atheist? Let's have an example. And here's Bernie, an atheist. Let's try it on him.
Now, do you actually claim to be an atheist or just an agnostic? I mean, do you really know there's no God, or you just not sure?
Yeah. So the title of my booklet was Modern Science and Philosophy Destroy Christian Theology. Yeah, I basically say you can disprove the Bible God, the existence of it.
Well, that wouldn't be an atheist disproving the Bible God. Maybe there's a different one, different God.
Yeah, but who cares?
Okay.
I mean, yeah, we can talk about more about that too.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
All right. Okay, so Roger, is everything ready to go? It's all going. It's all recorded. Okay, I have to get up here and move the counter here. It says 58 minutes. It's cockeyed. Okay. So is everything like set then? Right now, it's ready to go? I think we're okay. Should be okay. Well, I think we're fine. Okay. All right, I'm gonna start now then. Welcome to the Questions for Christians. I'm gonna start over again. Welcome to the Questions for Christians TV show. In this series, I ask Christians that are in leadership about their views on important and interesting aspects of philosophy and theology. The show has 5 10-minute sections. The first one is, how do we interpret the Adam and Eve story in light of modern science? The second one is, how should we interpret the Noah's Ark story in light of modern science? The third one is morality grounded in God? And if not, what could it be grounded in? The fourth one is, can one feel the presence of God? And is that evidence for the existence of God? And the fifth one is, why is there something rather than nothing? That's an age-old question, and just wondering how everything got to be here. And then we'll have time for a wrap-up. My name is Bernie Dehler. I was an evangelical, born-again Christian for over 25 years. And prior to that, I was raised as a Roman Catholic. I have a bachelor's degree in electronics engineering technology. I've been working in the computer industry since 1984. In 2007, I earned a master's in ministry degree from Lutheran Seminary in Georgia. It's a conservative Baptist seminary. And then in 2009, which was 2 years later, I left the faith and became an atheist because I think the atheist arguments make more sense of the world. I also wrote a booklet called Modern Science and Philosophy Destroy Christian Theology to help share my ideas. Today my guest is Kent Hovind. For those who follow creationist debates, I think Kent is pretty famous for representing young earth creationism. He believes the universe is only 6,000 years old, and there was a worldwide flood about 4,000 years ago that wiped out all land animals except those saved on a boat, and that evolutionary theory is a fairy tale. As such, he has debated many evolutionists and atheists to help spread the Christian gospel as he understands it. For example, one of his previous debate opponents has been Michael Shermer, who is famous in the atheist community, and you can see a lot of his debates on YouTube now. Kent, I would like to thank you for coming on the show today, and also I'd like to give you a minute to explain yourself to people who have never heard your name before. Why don't you give an idea of what your ministry is and what kind of work you do?
Well, thank you, sir. It's an honor to be with you tonight. My name is Kent Hovind. I was a high school science and math teacher for 15 years. I moved to Pensacola in 1989 and started writing letters to the editor, actually, in the newspaper here about creation evolution, and that led to my first ever debate at the University of West Florida and led to churches inviting me to come speak, and the ministry kind of evolved, if you can use that word, into a full-time ministry with me traveling all over the world. I've been to 37 countries, all 50 states, teaching the biblical view of creation. I do believe the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate in all details. I think the earth was created 6,000 years ago. I wouldn't use the word only because 6,000 is a long time. But the earth was created 6,000 years ago in 6 literal 24-hour days. That's the only way all the symbiotic relationships will work, like plants requiring animals to pollinate them, and etc. It has to be a relatively rapid creation of everything. I believe there was a big flood in the days of Noah, 4,400 years ago, that completely destroyed the world, and that formed all the fossils that we, or nearly all the fossils that we see today, formed the layers of rock, the strata, which the evolutionists have misnamed different ages. They're not different ages, they're all the same age. And I think the flood, between the creation and the flood, everything can be explained in geology and biology and physics and earth science and astronomy, and it's just, it all fits perfectly. I think, as I said, I think the Bible is exactly scientifically accurate. And I've debated Michael Shermer 3 times. I don't know if he'll do it again, but I would be honored anytime.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned you're coming to Portland here on December 11th and 13th, which is actually this weekend. I just found out about this a couple of days ago, and I was talking to you before the show. Maybe I'll be able to get out there and maybe do a segment with you, maybe do a little mini debate or something.
Sure.
I do a lot of debates here in the Portland area.
Hang on, can I ask you, Bernie, what is your goal in doing the debates? Are you wanting to turn people away from their faith, or why would you do it?
Yeah, I'm an atheist evangelist.
So you're trying to turn people into an atheist?
Sure, I think it's part of education. I think atheism is a superior, I think philosophical naturalism is a superior worldview to Christianity.
Okay.
So I think it's just a matter of education as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's like, why do you teach kids math? Why not teaching the truth about religion and philosophy? And that's going to lead to atheism as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Does atheism make for a better society then? People behave better, or what?
We'll probably get into that. I wanted to make some preliminary comments. You know, I was an evangelical born-again Christian for over 25 years, and I was raised a Roman Catholic, and just to let you know, when I grew up, we didn't take the Bible seriously as far as like Adam and Eve and all that. And when I became a born-again evangelical Christian, I found out, wow, people really believe this, that this Noah's Ark thing is real and all that. And so I tried to be a young earth creationist, and you're one person that, you know, I remember watching a long time ago, and I want to say, you know, one thing I really appreciate about you, Kent, is I appreciate your demeanor on how you handle people in debates. You're very calm. And also, like when somebody gives you a rapid fire bunch of topics, you say, okay, calm down, let's just take them one at a time.
Right,
So
right.
I want to give you a compliment about that.
Well, thank you, sir.
Um, the other thing I think is kind of interesting is I think we have a point of agreement maybe as an atheist and you're a young earth creationist. Do you agree with me that evolution, if it's true, it would do a great damage to the gospel?
I guess you'd have to define what you mean by evolution. If the whole general theory of evolution that we all came from a rock 14.7 billion years ago, or whatever number they're using these days, what's the purpose of Jesus dying on the cross as far as the gospel? Yeah, that it destroyed the purpose of the gospel. Okay.
Yeah, so like evolution is taught in the universities today. If that was true, that would destroy Christianity, you think?
Well, what's usually taught in the university is actually microevolution, variations within the kind, and then they extrapolate that in their mind. That somehow proves macroevolution and cosmic evolution, organic evolution, on and on and on. I said, come on, guys. Dogs and wolves probably had a common ancestor, but that's as far as it goes. It doesn't mean dogs and bananas have a common ancestor. So generally, universities or textbooks and stuff, they'll have statements, that all life forms are related. But mostly what they actually showed the kids is what's called microevolution, which really I don't have any problem with. I don't like that term. The term is no good.
You would agree with me that macroevolution is taught in all the universities in every biology class, right?
Right, and that should not be, because it's not part of science.
Right.
It's part of a religion. Right. They believe that, but it's not science.
Right. But what's kind of interesting though, there are a lot of Christians who do accept evolution, and they say, "Oh, there's no problem with evolution and belief in the Christian gospel." And I think we agree that there actually is a lot of problems with it.
Oh, they're diametrically opposed. Yes, sir.
So, anyway, I think that's kind of interesting that we have a point of agreement there. Okay, so let's stop. Let's start. We'll go for 10 minutes. We'll try to keep it to 10 minutes here. This first topic is the creation of Adam and Eve. And we could either do this where I could ask you questions for 5 minutes, or you could ask me questions for 5 minutes, or we can do one for 10 minutes. Is there something you would like to address the atheist, or I could ask you some questions? How do you want us to do that?
Well, we can forget the clock if you'd like and just talk, but
I'm trying to keep it to 10 minutes.
All right. Did you have parents and grandparents?
Yes.
Did they have parents and grandparents?
Yes.
Were they human?
Yes.
Okay. How far back do you go before they become non-human, would you guess?
Well, the first thing is there is no dividing line between human and non-human. So in other words, there is no point where a non-human gave birth to a human.
Okay. Are apes human then?
No, apes are not human.
Okay. Is an ape-like ancestor back there in your family tree someplace?
Sure. Yeah. Like Richard Dawkins says, if you go back 198 million generations, your ancestors are fish.
Well, his ancestors maybe, but not mine.
Yeah.
Okay. So you then do believe that you came from, let's say, a fish, ultimately, if you go back far enough.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, all the way back to, you might say, a rock or whatever. There was a time where there was no life and life arose. Yeah.
So life, in your religion, life did arise from non-living material at some point. Is that something you can prove or something you believe? Would that be considered a religious doctrine or scientific fact?
Well, in between the scientific fact, I would say that's part of the theory, the scientific theory right now. It's basically the best. You know what inference to the best explanation is, and a hypothesis is the inference to the best explanation. So basically, you have competing ideas. I mean, one idea is that God created humans by magic. Boom. The other one is that humans evolved naturally, and I think the better hypothesis is that everything happened naturally.
Yeah, I'd rather have you use the word hypothesis, because in my understanding of teaching science 15 years, a hypothesis is just a guess, and a theory has at least some evidence to support it. No one's ever seen non-living material come alive, and they can't even make it happen in the laboratory. So it really wouldn't qualify as a theory. It would be a hypothesis at best.
Okay, so your focus now is on the abiogenesis, the start of life. Yeah.
Well,
So basically, there are things that we have no clue about how it actually happened. And the tricky thing there is, even if scientists could make life pop out from non-life, as a creationist, you can still say, like, well, that's fine, you did that in the lab, but that doesn't prove nature could do that, right?
well, there'd be several things that would prove if scientists make the fact that they haven't, I think, is pretty telling. But if they could produce life in the laboratory, that would prove it takes intelligence to make life. It wouldn't prove it could happen by itself, and it certainly wouldn't prove it did happen by itself. That wouldn't even be evidence for the theory.
No, I mean, it would take intelligence to set up that lab experiment, but there's no intelligence actually making the life. I mean, it could, if there's a natural, like a spark and the right chemicals in the right atmosphere, if that could somehow do it, it would be purely natural. It's just that the intelligence made the scenario for it.
Well, then you'd have to argue for who made the spark and the atmosphere and the space and the time and the matter, and you're assuming an awful lot of things are already there for this to start. I mean, where did time come from? Where did matter come from? Where did space? Where did energy? Where's this spark coming from?
Right.
I mean, you're an electronics engineer. Gee whiz, nothing happens. Nothing complex comes together by itself. And life is more complex than any computer man's ever built.
That's kind of interesting because we have these different topics to talk about, and right now we're kind of going into a different one, like why is there something rather than nothing?
Oh, okay.
We're kind of going all over the map. Can I bring it back into Adam and Eve again?
Sure. It's your program. Go ahead.
Okay, let me ask you a question about this. As far as I'm concerned, one reason there are two main reasons why I accepted evolution for humans is descended from other animals. One is the pseudogene argument, and the other one is fused human chromosome number 2. Are you familiar with both of those?
I am.
So why is not fused human chromosome number 2? Why is that not compelling to you?
Any chromosome is more complicated than the space shuttle. You're an electronics engineer. For heaven's sake, I mean, complicated things do not just happen. How many things could go wrong in a computer to make it stop working? How many simple things,
Yeah, I agree with you. It's mind-boggling. It's complex.
Okay, well, if someone wants to believe it happened by chance over billions of years with no directing process, they can certainly believe that, but that's not science. Nobody's observed that. To me,
yeah, but it's kind of like if you saw footsteps outside or a crime scene situation, you may not know how it happened, but the fact that those footprints there show that it did happen, and that's what the fused human chromosome is that there's vestigial telomeres and a vestigial centromere. That seems like that makes no sense. If God made humans from scratch, he wouldn't. Why would he put in vestigial DNA?
well, first, I don't think we know all the uses of the DNA, and it could be something that's simply broken. I had a car once that had an air conditioner that didn't work, but the designer designed it with one, and it worked when it came off the assembly line, but it quit working somewhere along the line. So the fact, if humans have DNA telomers or whatever that no longer work, that's not evidence for evolution. That's evidence that we're a degraded 40,000th generation from Adam.
Well, the way it works is that chromosomes have telomeres on the end,
Right.
and these two chromosomes attached. So in the middle now you have two telomeres where you don't need a telomere, and because you don't need them, now they're vestigial. And then each chromosome also has one centromere, and needs one center, and the center joined it now has two centers. So the other one is totally not needed as a centromere anymore, so it's vestigial.
Well,
So
I think if you look, hang on, if you look at the argument from,
why would God create that from scratch?
oh, I don't know that he did. Maybe Adam and Eve didn't have it, and maybe it is something that happened somewhere along the line. Maybe just like my car air conditioning quit working. Okay, well, it was working when they sold it to me. It quit working later. So we are X number of generations from Adam. So to say, hey, this is now broken, therefore there was no original Adam, that's a silly argument.
Well, it's not that it's broken. It's just that, like I said, the telomeres are on the ends, and now when they join head to head, you don't need them in the middle anymore, and that's why they're not used. I mean, what is that code? It's obviously a telomere. There's no reason for that. And the reason why we know these two genes or these two chromosomes came together is because we can see the same like genes on the chimp who is our cousin. We can see the genes there, so they all perfectly line up.
So why do you think the chimps are our cousins? Because they have similar genes? Does that make them?
Well, this is one of the examples of why we think they're cousins, is because of the way the DNA lines up.
Are there any lines of code from Microsoft Word that are used exactly in Microsoft PowerPoint? I mean, how many lines of code are identical?
It's possible.
I think there are probably many thousands of lines of code. Why would they rewrite the whole code for every new program? Any programmer is going to reuse as many lines of code as he can that have already been written. So there are probably a lot of things.
I work at a high technology company, and we make these advanced computer chips, and it's, we try to reuse a lot of stuff, but it is amazing how, because we make such great advances, we do have to write. There is a lot of new stuff going into each one, but there is also a lot of carryover. Yeah.
Well, that's precisely that's the point.
Carryover, I'm not sure what the point is, because the carryover seems to prove evolution.
The carryover in the stuff that you do happens by intelligent choice. You choose to carry over X number of lines of code into the new program to save time or whatever. It would be logical for the creator to use similar lines of code in the DNA and similar chromosome structure and similar lots of things. For one thing, we couldn't eat other animals if we couldn't digest them and use anything out of them. The fact that the brown cow can eat the green grass and make the white milk, and I can drink it and get the blonde hair, that's pretty amazing. That's intelligent design at its best. God's thinking ahead. Let's make these out of similar materials so they're digestible. I guess I don't comprehend at all how that proves evolution. You lost me totally.
Well, I guess the thing I'm trying to understand is with this, if God, like I said, I work at a company. We make these advanced chips. We do not build in chips with junk and old baggage and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, it's obvious that there's a fused chromosome in humans. I mean, are you denying that it's a fused chromosome?
I don't know. I know that 100 years ago there were 180 vestigial organs on the list, things we don't need anymore. They've now reduced that list to 0. Could it be that we simply don't know the function of it yet, or that it serves as a space holder for something else? If it is a broken gene, which it may indeed be, or a broken section of a chromosome, how does a broken air conditioner on a car prove nobody made it? It's quite.
The broken gene argument is actually a little different. That's a pseudogene argument. This is more of seeing how it's assembled. Basically, like you say, if you have a car, if somebody says, "Hey, Ken, let me show you my cool hot rod I bought," and you look at it and you can say, like, "Oh wow, I can see the chassis is from a Chevy and I can see the bed is from a Ford." That's kind of what's going on here, is we can see how things were plastered together. It's like, well, what's this other piece on here? Well, that was just leftover. The Ford had it, but we don't use it, so it's just hanging around. But if it was created from scratch, you wouldn't. I mean, that stuff doesn't make sense if there's an intelligent designer.
Okay, so your argument would be, because we do not currently understand chromosome number 2, the use of some things, and we are assuming that it is indeed useless information or useless baggage. Therefore, there is no designer. Does that summarize your argument fairly?
No, what I'm trying to say is we know what a telomere is. They're the end codes on a chromosome, and when these two chromosomes got together, they fused in the center, and therefore those telomeres are not used. And because they're not used, now they're just vestigial. So we know what they were. They had an actual function. You can tell what they were, and now they're totally not needed, of course, and so it's all degraded.
And therefore,
basically, we know where it was used before, and it's not used in that function anymore. So it's obvious it's a fusion event.
Okay.
If it's a fusion event, you're just trying to figure out why is God cobbling things together instead of just doing things. If he made humans from scratch like you're proposing, it seems like it would have been a clean design instead of smacking chromosomes together.
Okay.
It's kind of weird.
When was this chromosome fusion discovered? When did they discover that these two are chromosome 2 has these telomeres fused together?
I heard it was about the year 2000 when they got the actual code, because they started decoding the genome, but I actually had a printout from like 1985 where they were showing a lot of the genes, and they could see there was a fusion event there. But I think it was like since the year 2000, they got the actual code. They know the actual fusion event, the actual DNA coding at that section there.
Okay, could the fusion event have occurred then in 1984?
No, because I mean all humans have it.
Okay, so could it have occurred in 1824, or could it occur 2,000 years ago in time for all humans to get it?
Well, no. This is actually like the Denisovan, the Neanderthal, and the humans all have this fused human chromosome, and like the orangutan, the chimp doesn't.
How do you know the Neanderthals have it? Do they find that in the bones?
They got it from the DNA. I'm not sure where they got the DNA from.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see about that.
Yeah,
okay.
The Denisovan, I think they got from a thumb or something.
So you have fused chromosome number 2, which has a useless section where the telomers join. I'm assuming equidistant from the centromes, and this is evidence that nobody.
It's not really equidistant. It's just on the end.
Okay, and this is evidence that we all came from a rock.
No, it's evidence that it's evidence of descent from other animals instead of being designed from scratch intelligently, like boom, here's a brand new design. I mean, according to your theory, there were no humans, and all of a sudden, boom, God made humans. So it's like, if they're made from scratch, he didn't have to worry about cobbling things together from other creatures.
Okay, and you're saying orangutans and chimpanzees do not have this fused chromosome?
Right.
But yet they are related to us.
Right.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
Because we can see the chromosomes they have, and we can see how those got smudged together to create our number 2. Our number 2 is like their 2A and 2B or so.
And
if you put two of those together, you can see how ours is.
Yeah. And so if I discover
because it got smudged together, it's got the vestigial telomeres and centromere in there because there's no point for those.
Okay, my argument would be very simple. We don't know when this happened. It was just discovered in the last 25 or 30 years. We don't know when it happened. The fact that some animals don't have it, we don't know that it's useless. I think it'd be fair to say we currently don't know the use of it, but it may be indeed. I'm not saying it's not useless. It may indeed be, but then again, could be something broken, like the air conditioner on the car that quit working after 20 years after the car was built. That's an example of degradation, not evolution. I don't see how you can possibly see that as evidence for evolution. I'm really lost here.
Okay. Can we leave it there and go on to the next topic?
Sure.
We're running a little over time. Okay. I know it's a little bit frustrating because we can't really dig deep down in anything, but it's just kind of interesting also getting an overview, I guess, on some of these. Okay, so this next one is Noah's Ark, and can I ask you some basic questions about this?
Sure, all you want.
Okay, so the idea, it's about 4,000 years ago. Is that what you believe?
That is what the Bible teaches. 4,400 years ago.
Okay, 4,400 years ago, there's a worldwide flood, and all living creatures, land animals, everything that had the breath of life in their nostrils, were killed, except for 8 humans that were saved on the boat and the representative species, right?
That's correct.
So here's some real obvious, just boom, right off the top of my head type of questions. Didn't anybody else have a boat?
Maybe not that would float for a year. Could you live in your boat for a year?
Why not?
Okay. How much food are you going to bring around?
Well, that's a question for the Ark. I mean, you got all these animals. I mean, that's another question. How do you feed all the animals and all that?
Well, farmers will drop off a bale of hay in the middle of the field and they go feed themselves. The Bible teaches everything was vegetarian before the flood came. And so they would just have piles of food on the ark or storages of, closets full of food, and they could, all vegetarian, come by and fix their own lunch.
So like alligators and snakes are all vegetarian?
No, I didn't say they are. I said they were, according to the Bible. But going from a vegetarian alligator to a meat-eating alligator is a really small change compared to going from a rock to an alligator.
Okay, so you're saying all all the animals on the ark were vegetarians.
That's what the Bible teaches.
Back to my first question about the boat. So you're thinking that a small boat, you're thinking that you can't have, I mean, food is not a problem because you can fish.
Okay.
Right there, right?
So you can get on a small boat and survive for a year. Ask anybody who's been shipwrecked and had to survive on a raft for 30 days how tough that is.
Well, it's just strange to me. I mean, it seems like, yeah, I mean, it would be difficult to be in a boat for a year, but an ark seems like it's magnifying the problems, plus taking care of all the animals representative of the whole world on that boat, too.
Well, the Bible says it happened. I chose to believe that story. I see no scientific problems with it. I do see problems with somebody living in a raft or a small boat for a year, especially.
So what would the animals eat once they get off the ark? Because everything is totally destroyed.
Well, no, the fact that he's in the ark for a year does not mean every square inch of the earth was covered for a year. Some sections of earth may have only been covered by water for a few weeks or months, long enough to drown everybody. So stuff starts growing again.
The Bible does say that even the tallest mountain was covered up like plus 15 feet, right?
Correct, 15 cubits, 22 feet roughly.
Okay, so you're saying the entire world was flooded, but that would destroy everything, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, I think well, a lot of plants, of course, can survive flooding. I mean, you have plants that thrive in flood areas, and they can certainly survive short periods of inundation.
Okay, so the water starts to go down, and then a few months later, stuff starts growing, and while they're still in the boat, there's still stuff growing out there. Is what you're saying?
Well, there'd be stuff growing out there, plus log mats float around, and when they ask anybody in a flood-prone area, debris floats around. When it lands, it sprouts quickly because it's got such mineral-rich soil. I mean, it'll be up and sprouting in days. I don't know, but again, these problems. A couple things you need to consider here, Bernie. Number one, we are not asking the taxpayers to pay for our religion to be taught. You are asking the taxpayers to pay for your religion. Number two.
I'm not really concerned about that. At this point, I'm just concerned about truth. I'm not really concerned about.
Well, good. Well, the truth is there are 300 different cultures around the world that have a legend about a global flood or a giant flood of some kind. Cultures that are not Christian. Why do so many cultures have this universal story? Are they all just making it up, or could it really be stemming from truth? I think that's one line of evidence that certainly would support the idea that there was one. Secondly, I think obviously you can't go back forever. You have to, population-wise, you have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents. At some point, you reach where the pyramid has to reverse itself and go back. There had to be an original human couple. Are you going to start with 10 billion couples of apes all of a sudden having humans, or did this happen one time? Did one ape-like ancestor produce what became the humans, or did 10 million of them? How did it start? To me, the flood story is very simple. There were 8 people, 4 couples, 3 producing couples, get off the boat and produce all of us today. Certainly, the population growth curve would also be evidence for that. At the time of Christ, there's only 250 million people on the whole planet. That's the estimate. Any population encyclopedia will tell you. 2,000 years ago, there were about 250 million people. Today, there are 7.5 billion. 250 million. Today there are 7.5 billion. Back in 1800 there was only 1 billion. In my seminar about the age of the Earth, I show the chart, which you can see from any number of textbooks, that says, hey, the population indicates it started growing about 4,500 years ago. I say, okay, I agree. I don't see a problem with that.
But what about? I'm still thinking about the animals, though. What about like right now? Modern times we see the cheetah and the antelope. The cheetah's very fast, the antelope's very fast. And when did the cheetah start chasing the antelope? Was it after the flood? I mean, as soon as they got off the boat?
Good question. Again, going from a plant-eating cheetah to a meat-eating cheetah is a really small change compared to going from a rock to a cheetah.
But there wouldn't be a lot of antelopes to chase or other prey to. I mean, all the antelopes need time to reproduce, so there's not antelopes for the cheetah to even eat or any other prey. I mean, everything's trying to reproduce and spread out.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know how long it took for this to take place, for the vegetarian diet to change to meat eating. And of course, there is a very obvious natural selection. The faster antelope gets away, and the faster cheetah can catch the antelope. So certainly natural selection works just fine,
But
but
you
it
know,
only.
the other thing I've always kind of wondered too is about all the dinosaurs on the boat. I mean, like there's this one chart that has like Triassic dinosaurs, Plesiosaurus. I can't even read all these. Jurassic period has Allosaurus, early Cretaceous has Iguanodon. Then late Cretaceous has some famous ones that people have heard about, like T-Rex, Triceratops, Velociraptor. What happened to all these dinosaurs? Didn't they get on the ark?
Well, yeah, the biblical view is very simple. God told Noah to take two of every kind, not species, but kind of animal on the ark. Noah, being 600 years old, would be smart enough to know you don't have to bring big ones. Matter of fact, we would want to bring babies of everything, as long as they're able to be on their own. Baby elephants, baby giraffes. Let's say there are 25 or 30 basic kinds of dinosaurs. I know there's 800 names for them, but there are probably 25 or 30 basic kinds. So he has 30 or 40, 30 or 20, 25 or 30 pairs of dinosaurs, baby juveniles that may be the size of a dog. And even then, most dinosaurs, the average size of a dinosaur is smaller than a dog. I mean, there's a bunch of little tiny ones, but a couple of great big ones, brachiosaur, patasaur, etc. But as a general rule, they weren't all that big. And I taught biology for years, and most people would quickly admit reptiles never stop growing. So in the pre-flood world, reptiles would get to be 70 feet long that today will only get to be 5 or 6 or 8 feet long. You know, what would a Komodo dragon look like if he could live, 900 years and get 80 feet long? Or uh, any number of dinosaur-looking lizards that live today. There's a three-horned chameleon that would look exactly like a triceratops if you gave it enough time. So the Christian view is Noah did take dinosaurs on the ark. After the flood, they either died out from climate change because they couldn't live long enough to reach reproductive age because something changed, or man killed them, calling them dragons. Uh, that's probably the most likely for many of them. And there are many thousands of stories of people killing dragons.
But that seems like, I mean, it seems like there are so many different kinds of dinosaurs, and they all went extinct. It seems like I thought God's plan was to save a remnant of the animals. It's like, why go through all that work saving them on the ark if they're just going to go extinct? It seems like it was a failure on God's part then to save the animals.
Well, I think you'd have a hard time proving the extinction of anything. But the dodo bird, for example, went extinct about 300 years ago. That's estimated based upon the plants that grow on some islands in the Indian Ocean that only dodo bird could eat and digest, partially digest, and that would fertilize the seed. So I make the seed capable of growing. Fertilize is the wrong word, but get the seed started. So the assumption is that dodo birds are probably extinct, and I think they probably are.
So you think all these major kinds of dinosaurs then survived the flood, and then later on they got extinct by human hunting or climate change or whatever?
Correct. That would be my position. But again, I'm not asking for my position to be taught with tax dollars in the school, and they are asking for theirs. So I think the burden of proof's on them, not me.
Okay. All right. You want to summarize anything there, like a few seconds, so we can move on?
Okay. Well, yeah. The Christian position is very simple. Dinosaurs always lived with man. Noah took them on the ark. They've died off by climate change or by hunting, or there may be a few stragglers still alive. Loch Ness monster kind of stuff. I don't know, but there's certainly been an awful lot of sightings that seem to be something like that, like a dinosaur. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This next topic is called "Is Morality Grounded in God?" And the reason why I bring this one up is because, like I said, I participate in a lot of debates, and a lot of times the Christian will say, atheists don't have any basis for morality, and they're basically borrowing from the worldview of the Christian, or from the Christian, and it's like, I don't think so. I think I have a basis, but so every one of these topics, there could be a subtopic based on what's interesting. But there's something on here on this topic that I'd really love to ask you, Kent.
Okay.
I don't understand. From my perspective, I think you're doing something really dishonest, and this is ongoing in your entire ministry, and that is that your doctorate degree.
Okay. I thought we were going to talk about morality.
Yeah, no. See, I would like to. I don't know how you can do. I don't know how you can claim to have a doctorate degree because I don't even like. I would like to have credentials. but I could not do what you did. I could not go to what I would consider a diploma mill to claim that.
Well, now let's take one topic at a time here. I worked very hard for my degree. I don't consider it a diploma mill. I spent years doing all the courses, finishing all the stuff, writing all the papers, writing a dissertation. It wasn't like you pay them $20 and they send you a degree, though there are places like that. I understand. And if people don't like my degree, then don't call me doctor. It's not a big deal to me. It doesn't matter at all. But it's not being dishonest. I worked very hard. My dissertation for my last doctor's degree is right here in my hand. It's the book I wrote, What on Earth is About to Happen, 276 pages. We published it. It's a dissertation on end times, which is what the degree was about, a Bible degree. So it doesn't matter if I have a doctor's degree. Why would anybody care? Harvard, Princeton, and Yale were not accredited when they first began. Most colleges start off not accredited. They have to earn their accreditation. I don't know when Harvard got it, or if they did. Someone told me today they did get accredited. Okay, you don't need to be accredited. Man, it's Harvard. You graduated from Harvard. I mean, the name speaks for itself. So I'm not being dishonest at all. If you don't like my degree, don't call me doctor, but don't say I'm dishonest. I have a doctor's degree from Patriot University.
Okay. Can I explain myself a little bit?
Sure.
On this? Okay, so there is a logical fallacy called ambiguity or equivocation where you use one word to confuse and sound like something else.
Okay.
So in the world, there are professionals who go through a lot of training and they get this credential called a PhD. It's very difficult to get. And I understand that you would like some credentials, and so to me, this is a huge shortcut. I mean, I looked into getting a PhD myself, and I figured it's going to cost maybe $60,000 to $90,000. I said it's not worth it.
Okay.
And I see here that your school will give it for $3,000.
Oh, I don't know what the cost is. It doesn't matter. The Patriot University.
No, it does matter. It does matter
okay.
Because what happens is PhD means something, and you're basically using that to say, hey, I got the same thing. When you use PhD, you're trying to say my PhD is like a Harvard PhD or like any other PhD, and it's not.
Hold on. I didn't say it's like a Harvard PhD. There's a lot of people who graduate and get a PhD who still believe they came from a rock. I don't think they're intelligent at all. I think that's stupid. I think that's capital S stupid. But I call them doctor. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I don't know where they get their degree. It doesn't matter. Patriot University was for many years part of a church in Colorado Springs. Then they moved later out independent to be in a house, a 3-bedroom house out in Salida, Colorado. I've never been there, but I was at the church in Colorado Springs when it was there for many years. Started in 1978, the college did. All colleges start off small and gradually grow. Pensacola Junior College here in town recently became Pensacola State University, State College. Okay, I don't care if somebody graduated from there before it became a state college. Like I went to Illinois Central College, a secular school in East Peoria, Illinois. The first or second year it opened, and they were all meeting in trailers. They had no buildings at all. Does that, because of meeting in a trailer, does that mean that the classes I took there are no good?
This Patriot University, though, it's again, they're saying they're a university. What kind of university? University means something to people, and it's usually even bigger than a college. And this university is a single-wide manufactured home. They don't have any faculty. There's like, 2 or 3 people, just the president or whatever. There's no faculty at all. It's playing on the word, like, what university is, and we're a university. No, it's not a university. It's not
okay. First of all, hang on. I don't think you get to make that decision. You could call yourself a university if you want. I think you'll find the Morris in Minnesota has a little tiny university with less than 2,000 students, where one of the major evolutionists is that I've debated once. So what? I don't care. He's in the Expelled movie. I forget his name right now. It's come on, I wrote the book, Whose Mouths Must Be Stopped.
I know
we need to get that book, by the way. I need to get that printed. Anyway, so he's got less than 2,000 students. Okay, but still, it's a university. Okay, so University of West Florida here has about less than 10,000 students. Some universities have 60,000. If you don't like the word, that is an extremely poor argument, and you know that, the ad hominem attack, which you're trying to do.
They don't even have a staff. They don't even have PhD staff.
I have been to universities many times and toured through them, and find out they will have, let's say, where they can major in Chinese. Okay, you go to Harvard University and major in Chinese. They have 3 students and 1 teacher, and they're meeting in a closet. But the person can say, I have a degree from Harvard in Chinese, even though the Chinese department would fit in a closet. I don't care. Why would you even bring this up? This is silly. This is an ad hominem attack. Forget my degree.
No,
Call me.
No, it's not
Yes,
ad
it
hominem.
is.
This is very serious because, like I said,
Well,
I
it's
think
serious
it's
to you.
dishonest.
It's not serious to most people. I'm perfectly honest. But listen carefully. I have a PhD from Patriot University in Colorado Springs. There were 25 graduates the year I graduated. I don't know what they're doing now. They could close down. It wouldn't matter. When I went there, that's what they had. And I learned a lot from the degree. But if you don't like my degree, call me Kent.
I know you probably learned a lot, but the thing is, it's not a real PhD.
Okay, then don't call me doctor. Call me Kent. Let's go on to the discussion. What's the next question?
Well, let me ask you, is it accredited also?
No, no. Are you kidding? In order to be accredited, they'd have to teach people they came from Iraq.
That's not true.
Okay.
I went to a Baptist seminary that was accredited.
And is your degree any good?
What do you mean, is it any good? It's accredited.
Whoa, accredited by whom?
It's called TRACS. It's an evangelical Christian organization.
Are there different, how many different accrediting organizations are there in America, would you guess?
Probably a whole bunch. But the thing is, Patriot University does claim to have accreditation by a certain company, and that certain company is known to accredit a bunch of diploma mills. In fact, they actually got a fine and had to change their name because they got busted certifying a bogus college.
Okay, Theodore does our website here. He's sitting here. Theodore, let's you and I start an accrediting agency, and we'll vote to accreditate Patriot right now. All in favor of accrediting Patriot, say aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Patriot is now accredited. There you go. Next topic.
Okay. Let me look through my notes here for the next one.
But for the record, Bernie, that's usually considered a desperate attempt on a low blow to get into that type of thing. I didn't ask where your degree was from. You volunteered that. Luther
No,
Rice.
I don't think it's low blow. I think it's,
okay.
Like I said,
Why would you bring that up?
I considered going to this Columbia Evangelical Seminary, the one James White went to, and I almost went there to save a lot of money, and I thought I cannot do it because of the accreditation. I mean,
okay.
The accreditation is a joke. It's really a diploma mill. Just because you paid $2,000 does. I know you learned something, but it's obvious. I mean, it's not fooling anybody.
Okay. Call me Kent. Let's go on.
Okay. Okay, so the last one here is, why is there something rather than nothing? And this one, I think the creationists usually say that where did everything come from? And, you need God to do that, but then usually the atheists will say too, well, where did God come from? What do you think about all that?
Well, first of all, how do we even know there is something rather than nothing? Are you convinced that we're here? Are we here?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. How do you know that?
Because I could hear myself talking.
Okay. We have to observe by our senses, sight, taste, touch, etc. We have 5 senses, 5 ways to contact the world, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it. Maybe there are more. Maybe there are 20 senses, and we've only got 5 of them. Blind people certainly are missing one. Deaf people are missing one. But just with the 5 senses we have, we can say, okay, it appears that we're here. It appears that we're real. But why is there something rather than nothing? I think you said, where did God come from? That question assumes a couple of things. It assumes that God is locked in time, space, matter like we are, and that he had to come from somewhere. And even if I can never figure out where or why or how, that doesn't prove his non-existence. The fact that I can't figure it out or you can't figure it out, we have just 3-pound brains. Of course there's things we can't understand. You don't understand what gravity is. There isn't a person on the planet that knows what gravity is. We know what
I agree. There's a lot of things we don't understand, and our senses are very limited. Like, we don't even know what dark energy is, dark matter. We don't really understand the quantum world.
Right.
There's
Okay, well, therefore, do they not exist, or we just need to keep studying?
Definitely need to, yeah,
Okay, same with
keep on
God.
researching.
Same with God. Keep studying. You'll find them.
But the point is, sometimes creationists say like, well, can you explain how everything can be? No. Okay, well, God did it. And as far as I'm concerned, that's just magical thinking. It's, you know, people used to say God did everything, and then you find out in the science, you know, like God causes earthquakes. No, it was actually plate tectonics. God causes lightning. No, it was actually electrical differences. So,
You're using a faulty argument here. The fact that people in the past have believed stupid things doesn't mean that the whole concept is wrong. I agree. I know. I just think I understand what causes earthquakes. You know, side slip, or slip faults and strike faults, and the different types of fault lines and how they move and cause earthquakes. And it depends upon the S&P waves. And we could talk for 2 hours on that if you'd like. I taught earth science 15 years. I think I could give a reasonable explanation for earthquakes, and I don't say God did it. But you have to get back to an initial cause at some point. Where did matter come from? Where did time come from? Where did energy come from? Where did space come from? Do you, as a professed atheist, have an answer to any of those?
um,
Why is
no,
there?
I mean, there's just, you know, there's some theories out there, like where did the Big Bang come from? Nobody knows. Maybe there's a multiverse, but yeah, nobody knows.
Well, you're assuming that there even was a Big Bang. What if there wasn't? Uh, I don't know. I'm just asking, it sounds like you're just taking some things on faith, which is fine. I take a lot of stuff on faith too.
Well, it's not faith like, oh, I just got an idea. Hey, maybe that's it. Let's believe it. It's like, I mean, people say the universe is expanding, and so they say let's rewind the tape, and that's why it goes back to a Big Bang. It's based on evidence.
Why do you say the universe is expanding? Is that based on the red shift?
Yeah, red shift and blue shift on things that are coming towards us. Red shift things going away from us.
Well, if there's things coming toward us,
Mm-hmm.
then is it expanding?
No, it's just a direction. There'll be a blue shift if it's coming your way, and a red shift if it's going away from you.
I understand the theory behind it, the Doppler effect. Is there any evidence of any stars that are blue shifted?
I think so. Like we're on a collision course with I believe the Andromeda galaxy. So that we're coming together. So that should be a blue shift, I think.
I don't know. It's interesting. I have to check that out. But 17 times in the Bible it says God stretched out the heavens. Could it be that God created the earth first, like it says in the Bible, and then the stars a couple days later, and stretched them out into place, which would certainly cause a red shift? So if there is a red shift, the Doppler effect of the star receding, that still wouldn't prove there isn't a God or that he didn't stretch it out. You could interpret it as evidence for your theory, i.e. Big Bang, and I can interpret it as evidence for my theory, i.e. God stretching the heavens. The fact is, we see a red shift. That's the end of the facts. Everything else is an interpretation of those facts, or an induction, not necessarily part of the fact.
Well, let me ask about this. I mean, you know about the appearance of age argument, right, against young Earth creationism.
Sure. How old was Adam on day one? Well, he was.
Yeah, and it's especially put to the stars, though. For example, if you see a supernova explosion and they say it was like so many billion light years away from us, and you're saying that no, that was less than 6,000 years ago. Sometimes they say, God created the light in transit or something. So in other words, you're seeing something that never really happened because it didn't actually happen that long ago. I'm trying to understand how do you answer to that one about?
Yeah, I don't make those arguments. I think it's much simpler. God created this earth first, like he said in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And then later, he's created the stars on day 3 and stretched them out into their current place. Let's just pick a number and say the stars are moving away at 90% the speed of light. Okay, well then Adam and Eve would see the taillights as they're moving away. They would see them their first day on earth, or first night, and everybody would see them ever since then. And the stars could indeed be billions of light years away. I don't know. Nobody does. You cannot measure star distance beyond about 100 light years. They probably are much further.
If you do see something blue shifted, that would kind of throw that out of whack. You're saying because you're assuming everything is moving away from us. And
well, when it says
there are stars coming at us, and
I don't know. I'd like to see more evidence on that. But if God stretched out the heavens, and certainly the galaxies seem to be spiraling around each other, not only spiraling around themselves, but there seems to be a big galactic dance, I guess, of all the galaxies. So that would certainly um, cause some of the stars to be coming toward us. Just the fact that a galaxy is spinning, let's say it's, 1,000 light years away and it's spinning, well, one side of it is turning toward us and one side's turning away, like any merry-go-round would do. So no, you could still have a blue shift. I've not seen evidence of any blue shift. I'm not saying there isn't any, but let's just assume, okay, look, that still, I think, is explainable easily with God stretching out the heavens like he said he did.
Well, I heard we're certainly on a collision course with another galaxy. Have you heard of that one?
No, what are you going to do when it happens?
I mean, yeah, it's I don't know, many billions of years from now, but the Earth may even be fried by then or something. I don't know how many millions or billions of years it is from now, but.
So you and I don't have to worry about it?
Right.
Oh, that's good. Well, I got enough to worry about without that.
Well, yeah, with evolution, there's going to be robots by then. They're going to be dealing with it.
Okay.
Yeah, you concentrate on the mystery from non-life to life. From an evolutionary perspective, I see that everything came from the Big Bang. There's just pure energy. Then there's matter came, and then from matter, life arose, biological life. And I also sincerely believe, and you can call it my religion if you want to, that this biological life is going to give rise to artificial life, and we're going to have artificial intelligence that's going to be the next stage. I mean, it may be 1,000 years, a million years, whatever, but it's going to be superior to our life, and we're going to be little pets for them because they're going to be superior.
All right. I hope you enjoy that.
As long as the religious people don't cause a nuclear war and kill each other or something like that, kill the evildoers.
Yeah. All the wars are based on religious people. Is it our fault for everything now?
Yeah.
It is.
You agree with me, right?
Huh?
You agree with that, right?
No, sir, I do not. There certainly some have been.
Just kidding there.
Yeah.
Okay, so our last segment. Do you have anything you want to finish up on? This is a few seconds to summarize this section.
No, on my seminar part 7, my question answer, I give a long explanation of the red shift and what causes it. And I think I'm pretty, being a physics teacher and an earth science teacher, I'm probably more familiar than the average person on the street about what causes these things. And so I give a reasonable explanation at a simplified level of what causes it, and quite a few quotes from major brand name evolutionists that would, I think, disagree, that we don't really know as much as they claim we know about all these things. And we certainly can't measure the distance to these stars. It just cannot be done. You can't get two guys on your roof and measure the distance to Chicago just, looking at through two telescopes and calculating the angle of out of parallel they are. The angle's too slight. Probably 100 light years is the most they can actually measure. The rest is inference. But yeah, that's all on my video number 7, which you can watch on Kent Hovind Official for free.
Do you have it on YouTube for free too yet?
Oh, but what do you mean? Yeah, all YouTubes are free, aren't they?
I mean, do you have it on YouTube? You said
yeah.
your website.
All my stuff. Well, Kent Hovind Official is a YouTube channel. Yeah, all my stuff is up. Has been for years.
Sorry about that. Okay, so last one, we only have a couple minutes left. Maybe we can just briefly get into this one. Sometimes Christians argue that, I believe in God. I know He exists because I feel Him in my heart. Just like your spouse exists, I know God exists. And I just want to say, I used to be a born again believer. I used to think that I was led by God and could feel God. And now I'm just convinced it must be a delusion because it doesn't make sense logically. So that's where I'm at. What do you have to say about that?
Well, we'll find out Judgment Day. I'll stand next to you.
So do you think that feeling the presence of God is a good argument for the existence of God?
Well, I don't know. I don't ever use that one, but it is interesting to think about. I mean, I talk to him all the time. I think I know him. I've been his child for 46 years. I feel like he's my friend. Yes, I think we have a relationship, and I don't think I'm delusional. Got a reasonable IQ, and I read a lot, and I'm willing to listen to any arguments. But I know him. I've seen him do some pretty amazing things. I don't know that he's still in the miracle-working business like when Jesus was here, raising the dead and healing the sick. Though some people believe that. I'm a little more on the skeptical side of that argument. But yeah, I happen to know him personally. Talk to him
Do
all
you
the
think
time.
that is there any possible way you could be deluded, such as like if you look in the desert and you saw a mirage? I mean, people really do see a mirage, but it's not real. Do you think there's a possibility? Is there any possibility, like even a half of a zillion of a percent, that your relationship with that you feel could be a delusion?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I would always entertain that thought, and I'm willing to. Could I not really be married? Could I not really be sitting here? Well, yeah, of course. And maybe some Christians would get mad at me for even saying that's a possibility. But sure, I would entertain that. I'd like to see
Do you think
evidence.
are you open enough to evidence? Like, for example, if you saw evidence that Noah's Ark never happened, there was no worldwide flood. Do you think it's possible that if you saw evidence, you can change your mind about that, or are you just going to believe it no matter what?
Oh well, no. How do you prove the non-existence of something? I mean,
Well, what if I said? I mean, I can't give you the evidence, but what if you did see evidence? Would you be willing to say, okay, I guess it's not true because I see evidence now?
well, yeah, oh yeah, I'm always willing to examine the facts and go where the facts lead. So far, to me, all of the facts lead to the evidence that there was a flood. I mean, there's clams on top of Mount Everest.
The reason why I ask is because I was reviewing again this Ham and Bill Nye debate, and Ken Ham seemed to be saying like, look, it's a fact, the flood happened, and we're trying to figure out how it happened, but that it happened is a fact, and that's never going to change, kind of thing.
Well,
So,
I do come from the position that I'm going to believe God's word until it is proven wrong, rather than I'm going to doubt the word until it's proven true, which seems to be your position. So
no,
yeah.
I tried to believe it as long as I could, and I said, come on, God, just give me one thread, and I'll stay if I could, but I couldn't find one thread.
Oh, I
Honestly.
guess I found plenty of them. Maybe you were looking under the wrong rock.
Okay, we have a few seconds left. I'll give you like 30 seconds to summarize everything we've talked about tonight.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. I believe the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate. I don't think you've proven anything wrong in the Bible other than you don't want to believe some things. People can watch my videos or watch my YouTube channel or send in questions at Kent Hovind Official, or they can call our phone number 855-BIG-DINO, and we'll be glad to talk with them and answer any questions. I think certainly the Christian viewpoint leads to a better society. Even if it's not true, people who believe there are laws and 10 commandments and try to follow them make better neighbors. They're not going to steal or lie or cheat or steal as often. So I think from a purely pragmatic standpoint, it's much better to teach the Christian worldview than the atheistic worldview. But that's your choice. And you keep climbing the mountain of truth, and I'll be waiting at the top for you.
Okay, well, I'm glad you called in and want to be a part of the show, and appreciate the conversation.
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe we'll do it again in the future if you're not too upset with me from earlier.
No, I love it. Keep going. I'll do it. I'll do it as often as we can. My schedule's pretty busy here, but no, count me in anytime you need a guest.
Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Now, would you like to do a little overtime, or do you have to go?
No, well, it's 11 o'clock here, but go ahead. We can go a little overtime.
Okay. We could probably go up to 15 minutes if you want to. One section we might want to talk about. Well, here's some things I have in mind. One thing you mentioned about the consequences. Christianity has better consequences. That can be one thing. One thing might be I would like to make the accusation that the gospel is nonsense. Another thing we might talk about is why did God make us? What's the point? Is he needy? Does he need something? Another one might be, what do you think about Richard Dawkins? Another one might be, what do you think is the worst argument you've heard from atheists that like Shermer, big time atheists are making? Or another one might be, what do you think is the best evidence for God?
Wow, all kinds of. Well, tell me about Richard Dawkins. I've never met him. I tried to debate him. He wouldn't do it. I was going to England, and we offered to any amount of money he wanted. Well, we didn't give it an endless, but would you debate 2 hours for 5,000? No, wouldn't do it. So.
Okay, let's start over then, and I'll ask you about that. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So Richard Dawkins is probably the most famous atheist. So what do you think of Richard Dawkins? Have you tried to debate him? What do you have to say about that?
Years ago, I was going to England, and I called his office, and his secretary answered, and I talked and said, I'm coming over there. I'd love to debate Dr. Dawkins. I will, how much would he want for an hour or 2 hour debate we'd like to videotape it on the creation evolution topic, and she hung up on me. My secretary called back a couple days later, and he answered the phone, and he talked to her for just a few minutes, and then he hung up on my secretary. So I don't understand, he's in the movie Expelled, which is fabulous. You can listen to him being interviewed by Ben Stein.
Yeah,
Richard,
that's kind of weird. I mean, you're actually talking to them and they just mid-sentence hung up on you?
yes, I couldn't believe it.
Weird.
I have a
Okay.
website here called Richard Dawkins Quotes, brainyquote.com. He has some really interesting quotes, things that he's said. We could go for all night on things that he said, but one of the things he said in the Expelled movie was possibly aliens came to Earth and seeded life down here, which to me sounds fantastic. I mean,
I think you were talking about panspermia, where maybe life came in on a comet or something like DNA. They've found amino acids and things on comets or asteroids.
Yeah, but saying that asteroids brought life down here is only postponing the problem, or putting it out of reach. How did life get started?
It is postponing it, but if it's true, then you got to deal with it.
Oh yeah, if it's true. Could it be the asteroids came from Earth? The Bible says the fountains of the deep broke open. 8 or 10 miles of rock standing on top of water under the crust of the Earth, which of course we still have, lots of water in the crust. I don't know what 10 miles of rock would weigh. You could calculate it out. It's figure 170 pounds per cubic foot average. It'd be a lot, millions of tons of pressure per square inch. And so that would launch things probably out into space. I think you could easily get to the escape velocity of 17,000 miles an hour with that much pressure. There's a great book, In the Beginning, by Walt Brown from creationscience.com. And he was a physics teacher at the Air Force Academy, and he has an accredited degree, if that means anything to anybody. He has a whole section on that he thinks the asteroids and meteors we see flying around probably were shot out into space from the Earth at the time of the flood. I think that's a very reasonable thing to consider. So if there is DNA or life on an asteroid, that certainly would not prove it came from some other planet. It could have come from here. And in a court of law, they certainly could not prove it came from any other planet.
So, to recap with Dawkins, I mean, you tried to get an interview with them or a debate with them, and they just hung up on you, and that was the end of it?
Yep. I called his secretary, and she hung up on me. My secretary called, I think it was a couple days later, and he hung up on her. Didn't get anywhere. I still debate him in a heartbeat.
And you have debated Shermer. How did that come about? Did he contact you, or you or him, or that was totally different, I guess?
I've debated him three.
How'd that come about?
I've debated him 3 times. I don't know how it came about. I don't remember. I'd be glad to debate him again. He's a real nice guy. He's wrong, dead wrong, and I'm right on that one. But no, I don't think he'll do it again. I think if you can watch the debates, we got them on videotape. Go to Dr. Dino. Actually, we're putting out a set where you can I have 20 different debates on videotape, and we want the whole world to see this stuff, and so we're doing 10 to a package. That should be out another week or two, couple of weeks, all the debates.
Do you have any debates scheduled going forward?
I don't have any more scheduled. I was thrilled to get this one tonight, to have you say you'd like to debate on creation evolution. You're one of the very few brave enough to do it. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's frustrating to me. I wish more people would do it, but I got some negative things to say, and I don't want to say them. So, but
I've got
scientists are really busy doing their job. I got a full-time job too, so it takes a lot of time for me.
Yeah, I run a real busy schedule here myself. I got in at about midnight last night from New York, and I leave again 5 a.m. Friday morning for Oregon, and so I run. I know about busy.
Yeah, I have to say, it looks like you're being very successful. I mean, I see you're putting out a lot of YouTube videos, and you're getting a lot of hits. So you seem to be making a big impact as far as young Earth creationists.
I hope so. Oh, and making trillions of dollars too. I'm going to buy the whole state of New York and sell it to China.
And then you're gonna build your dinosaur park on the 800 acres you're looking at getting. I heard you talking about that.
Oh yeah. Are you going to come visit when I build it?
Probably. I went to Ohio. I wanted to see the Creation Museum, but all the relatives with me they were not interested at all. But I wanted to go to Kentucky. Well, it was within driving distance of Ohio, but I couldn't get anybody else to go with me.
I was there a few weeks ago at the Creation Museum. It's pretty nice. It's mostly museum, go look at this, look at this, look at that. But I want more of a science center, hands-on theme park kind of thing rather than museum. But it's very well done. So
that's going to be so you're going to have a friendly competition with Ken Hamner, right?
Oh, I don't know. It's a big world. There's plenty of room out there. No, I've known Ken. I've met him a couple times, but known him for years. I love what he does. We disagree on a few little minor things, but no problem.
Would you like to get a bigger, better museum going?
Oh, I don't want a museum at all. In kid language, yeah, museum in kid language equals boring. I want theme park science. We've got in my backyard, or had till the IRS came after us, a dinosaur adventure land, just little 5 acres, and everything had a science lesson and a spiritual lesson. And we had 100,000 visitors come just in my backyard from all over the world, 120 some countries and all 50 states, and the kids just had a blast. So I'm much more into the hands-on science center rather than museum. But yeah.
Okay, so if everything went perfect in the next 20 years, tell me what you got going.
Well, I would like to get property in the country and build a camp. I'm an Eagle Scout. I want camping. I want kids to come spend a week and learn all the evidence for creation. And so they can go back to their schools and be little mini creation evangelists and teach the truth, expose the lies in the textbooks. One of my big beefs is there's so many lies in the textbooks. If somebody wants to believe evolution like you believe it, that's perfectly fine. I don't care. But when they want to use lies as evidence, you're upset about me claiming I have a doctor's degree. What about the textbooks claiming the embryo has gill slits? That was proven wrong in 1874. That's still being taught. Forget the doctor's degree. Get the lies out of the textbooks.
I'm not up to speed on that argument. I've heard it, but I haven't ever looked into it.
Well, watch my video number 4, which is nearly 2.5 hours long, covering, 30 or 40 some lies in the textbooks. Get them out. I spoke at the Arkansas House Representatives, had me come in and speak to their committee when they were voting on textbooks one year. And I went through about 30 of the lies in the textbooks with Jim Holt, the representative there. And the ACLU representative, a woman, she said, well, he's right. These things are not true, but what are you going to replace it with? I said, you got to be kidding. We can't take a lie out of the book because it supports your theory until I find replacement evidence for your theory? How about just teach the truth? Get the lies out of the books. If you don't have any evidence for your theory, then get a new theory. I don't want to find new evidence for that theory. I think the theory is dumb, that we came from a rock and that we're related to an ape. I think that's retarded. But if they want to believe it, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But don't use lies as evidence for it. Do I have the brainwashed book here? Oh, it's in there.
Yeah, I heard you in one debate. I can't remember which one. You were talking about the gill slits and the embryology, and the guy you were debating with, I can't remember who it was, but was saying he didn't think they had gill slits, but there was some kind of flap that does turn into something on humans. Can't remember what it was.
I'm calling it up on my PowerPoint here right now. Video number 4, lies in the textbooks. Yeah, the pharyngeal gill slits, they call them. It was Charles Darwin's protege came up with that. Let's see, gill slits. Here it is. Okay.
Yeah, the guy was saying that one of those pharyngeal slits turn into something on humans.
Well, the idea is called comparative embryology. I've got in my PowerPoint here in front of me some of the textbooks that teach this. That was proven wrong in 1874.
Are you also referring to what they call evo-devo evolutionary development? Is that part of it too?
Evo-devo. Well, yeah, they say that all of the embryos at an embryonic stage look similar, which is simply not true. He lied, okay, through his teeth. It was Huxley who did it in 1869, who was a known liar in many other things, exposed all kinds of his frauds were exposed even in court. If you watch my video 4, I cover that. Huxley made these Haeckel made these fake drawings showing all of the embryos of the human, the pig, the sheep, the duck, etc., the fish, all looking nearly identical. The fact is he lied, he faked them. It was exposed a few years later. He was even taken to court over it. His own university held a trial, and he finally admitted, yeah, I did fake some of my drawings. Okay, well.
Right, but those fake drawings are not used in modern textbooks, are they?
They are still used in textbooks to this day.
The fake drawings.
The fake.
I heard that they admitted that they were exaggerated, but I would assume that modern day ones have actual photographs or something.
I have in front of me a Evolutionary Analysis textbook, 1998, University of West Florida, right here in Pensacola.
17 years though, you should get something. You should get the latest one. like taught at Harvard or something.
Hold it. This was proven wrong in 1874, 124 years before this book was published. Here's a university of...
You would bolster your case, so I mean, you got to, it's over 17 years ago.
Well, hold it.
You
Okay.
bolster your case if you can get some like modern,
all right.
like taught at University of Florida or some, books.
I have a 2011 textbook behind me, a biology textbook. Here's a 2015. That's this year. They're still teaching that embryology, similar structures in the embryos, is evidence for evolution. They don't have anything else. There is no other evidence for evolution other than lies.
You have a good point on that, though. What's it say, like phylogeny recapitulates ontology or something like that?
Ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. They're still teaching it. I don't care if they want to believe in evolution. I just care that they want to lie about it, and they want all of us to pay for it. Go start a private school. Teach it to whoever wants to come learn.
Yeah, I mean, that might be different than the fake drawings. I mean, I think that might be a valid thing that evolutionists would like to still argue with you about. Can you just for my own purposes, can you tell me what the title of that textbook is and who the publisher is, so I can look it up?
Okay, I taught high school biology, and I was in prison for 9 years, so of course I don't have any modern textbooks except this one somebody sent me recently, 2015. But here's I'm looking at my PowerPoint slides from video number 4, Glencoe Biology 2005, the year before they sent me to prison, still teaching that embryology is evidence for a common ancestor. Kenneth Miller, still teaching it, 1998 in his famous Prentice Hall biology textbook. Okay, here's the 2015 edition of the biology textbook. This is high school biology, called Houghton Mifflin Harcourt published it 2015 this year. And
the thing is, they have the same ideas, but they're not using bad drawings anymore.
They're using actual photographs, but they're pointing to the little folds of skin and calling them pharyngeal arches. This is on page 301. And they use the phrase, here it is, ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny.
Yeah.
For many years, Haeckel...
I'm not really familiar with all that, but it does sound like an interesting thing to follow up the study with. I'll look at it after our discussion.
Okay, let me just read this short paragraph here. With today's technology, scientists have shown that all vertebrates have a set of very similar genes that direct the development of body structures from a basic body plan. These genes, the Hox genes, are discussed in more detail in the chapter Invertebrate Diversity. Evidence such as this suggests the evolution of vertebrates and other organisms from a distant common ancestor. This is page 301 of the book Texas Teachers Edition Biology, Stephen Norwicki. This is 2015. Get the lies out of the books. Forget worrying about my degree, since I'm not asking you to pay my salary, and get these lies out of the books.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, like I said, I'll have to do some study on that. I'm predisposed to think that's not a lie. I think they might have some good points there, so it'd be interesting, maybe for a future debate or something.
You're predisposed to believe that they are related because of the gill slits? Is that what I heard?
Well, because I'm just vaguely familiar with some of the arguments. I don't know it in detail enough to have a firm opinion on it, but it just seems reasonable from background information. But I can't say I'm solid enough to argue about it.
Okay, I'm looking at a Biology Concepts and Applications, published year 2000, page 279, published by Brooks and Cole. They are still showing Haeckel's fake drawings of a fish, reptile, bird, and mammal as evidence for evolution.
What was the title of that book again?
The title was Biology Concepts and Applications, year 2000, published by Brooks and Cole, page 279. Here's another one called Discover Biology, copyright 2000, page 301. Similarly, humans and fish embryos resemble each other because humans and fish share a common ancestor. Here's a 2001 Prentice Hall.
All right, well, that statement is different than the argument about falsified drawings. I mean, those are two different things. I mean, it's immoral to show drawings that are not accurate. So that needs to be fixed and corrected. corrected, which I don't
Good.
think that's going on anymore. But you're now objecting to
No,
what they're claiming, which is a different thing. Now it's a
it is going on.
Is it reasonable or not?
It is still going on. I'm looking at Holt Biology 2001, page 288, Principles and Explorations, Biology by Holt. On page 288, it says, early in development, vertebrate embryos have similar characteristics, and they show fake drawings of the human, the chicken, the tortoise, and the fish embryo.
So this sounds to me like this is like is this like far, and I mean is this by far like one of the biggest issues you have with evolutionary theory?
One of the issues is they have to use lies as evidence to back up their theory. Another issue is the results of this teaching this theory. Adolf Hitler was trying to speed up the process of eliminating the inferiors to get the superiors to succeed. Here's a whole.
Hold on a second. Let's say we're changing gears now, and let's talk about consequences, right?
Okay.
Okay, so now you want to lay out an argument that the consequences of evolution are going to be very bad, right?
Well, you asked me what my biggest gripe was about evolution. I think consequences is one of the gripes. I don't know what the biggest one is, but there's no evidence for it. Nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog. Nobody's ever seen a dog come from a non-dog.
Okay, that's the evidence. Let's talk about consequences a little bit. So I think you want to say that if a person accepts evolution and they become an atheist even, and or either one maybe, so you're saying that's going to lead to worse life, more immorality and stuff?
Oh no, many people who are atheists are very good, make good neighbors. They're perfectly fine. You wanted to maybe our next program we can discuss how they borrow morals from Christianity. I've asked atheists all over, how do you tell right from wrong? Would it be wrong? Would it be wrong for you to have sex with your 3-year-old daughter?
I think so, yeah.
Why? Why?
Well, I have 3 pillars for morality. One is consequentialism, one is reciprocity, and the other one is free rights. So basically, on consequentialism, if you good and bad is all about the community, having a good or bad, having a flourishing or not community. You don't want to hurt the community; you want it to flourish. And so, if you have a society where people are having sex with their 3-year-old kids, I think it's going to cause a lot of psychological problems that aren't going to be healthy. So I would say, based on the consequences, that's a bad thing.
Well, what if it's consensual? What if she says, that's fine, Dad?
Well, I don't think the children know any better. That's why we have like laws like rape and statutory rape, that just the children don't know any better.
All right, what if she's 10 or 12 or 15? At what point would it be okay?
Statutory rape thing where they just don't know any better, so you can't say they're making a valid decision at that age.
So what if at 18 they can make a decision that they couldn't make at 17?
Right. So I mean, sooner or later, it's like abortion. It's there's a certain gray line where, of course, it's gross to abort a baby when it's 9 months in the womb. But I would also say, of course, there's nothing wrong with having abortion if it's the morning after pill. I mean, like the Catholics are so far off, like they think the birth control is evil. I mean, that's crazy too. There are extremes that are crazy, and you got to figure out an in-between line somewhere, the gray area.
Okay, I just found a 2006 textbook used at Kent State University in Kent, Ohio. Is that an accredited school?
Kent University, yeah. Sure,
okay. Kent State University, Kent, Ohio. They're showing a tortoise and a chicken at the embryonic stage with the gill slits, and they're using Haeckel's fake drawings. 2006. Let's see.
What's the name of the textbook and the year that it was made?
I photographed it when I was at that school, and I didn't put the name of that one down. I just put I should not have put the. I put the 2006 published, but that's one of the few things I missed. Or maybe this is it. Next page. No. I usually almost always document all this stuff at the bottom of the page. That one I missed. Let's see.
Michigan. Hey, on the topic of documentation, I was researching you a lot on the internet, and there's a lot of chatter about your dissertation for your PhD. Is that available? Can people get that, or is that not available?
I don't know where it's available. I've nothing to hide about it. My dissertation for my last degree is right here in my hand. It's my book I wrote, What on Earth is About to Happen. It's standard to do a dissertation for a doctor's degree.
Are you also saying that you have an honorary doctorate degree?
Yes, I have 4 doctor's degrees. 3 of them earned, 1 honorary. But again, forget the doctor.
3 of them are all 3 from Patriot?
No, 2 from Patriot. Only 2 from Patriot, but all from Bible colleges, all from non-accredited by the secular establishment.
So what's the other university what's the third university then?
Well,
what's one besides Patriot that you earned a degree in?
Well, none of them are accredited, so don't worry about it. You wouldn't accept it even if I got one from Harvard and became a creationist. You would still think I'm crazy.
Yeah, but you can tell me what the name is, right? Come on.
Well, I could tell you all kinds of things, but it wouldn't do any good. Mark,
come on,
no.
I want to ask you. Come on, Ken.
Go ahead and ask all you want. I'll publish it one of these days. It doesn't matter. There are people.
Okay, what about the honorary one? Can you tell me the university for that one?
There are all kinds of people with degrees from major universities who are young Earth creationists. Watch the Expelled movie, and you'll see. You get expelled.
Yeah, but in your thesis, you said you have those PhDs, but you're not giving a reference to what the university is.
Patriot University.
But you're not giving. It's like you're not giving references. You're not giving footnotes.
Okay, forget them then. Call me Bubba.
Darn, I wanted to find out what it was.
I'm sure you do.
Okay, so sorry, we got off track there.
Yeah, way off track, but that's okay.
Well, we're out of time. Do you want to summarize anything before we say goodbye?
No, that's pretty well it. My videos cover it all, and my position is real simple and real solid. God made the world, just like He said He did, and He's obligated, if He did it, and He's going to hold us accountable for any rules that He makes. He's obligated to publish those rules and to preserve them and post them. And I think He did in the Bible. I take that to be the Word of God. I think it's scientifically accurate. I don't think anything we've said in the last couple hours has proven anything not accurate. I can't prove it's true, but you haven't proven it's not true. An instantaneous creation of plants and animals within a few days of each other was going to work just fine. Whereas
I have proven the Bible God does not exist in my booklet.
Oh, okay. I need to read your booklet then. Wow, if you've proven He doesn't exist.
I'm going to try to remember to send you a copy. I'm going to send you a free copy.
What am I going to do if He doesn't exist? Man, that's going to be awful. Okay.
If I
All right.
send you a copy, will you promise not to just burn it or something?
Oh, no, I have a whole shelf of books like that. I would be honored to get it.
Okay, it's really small. I made it small on purpose. It's easy to read and stuff. It's very quick.
I read fast, and I read pretty well, so no problem. All right. Hey, thank you so much.
Again, I appreciate it. So thanks for not having hard feelings with my questions, and I appreciate your call.
All right, thanks a lot. All right, talk to you later.
Okay, talk to you later.
Right, bye-bye. Do I pause this now, Theodore, or?
Hit the red button on the top bottom.
Here, I'll let you hit that. That one?
Right there.